The car was revving, its engine growling impatiently at the gas station. A man in a sharp suit tapped his steering wheel, irritated, unaware that his life, and the lives of everyone around, were about to change. Suddenly, a small girl, no older than 10, rushed across the lot, her torn shoes flapping, her eyes wild. She stopped right in front of his petrol car and dropped a dirty, pink backpack onto the ground. "Don't move," she screamed. People stared. The man looked baffled. What in the... But when the backpack flipped open, what spilled out made everyone freeze. Tears. Gasps. Phones fell. Because inside was the truth no one wanted to see. If this story moved you, don't forget to like, comment, share with someone who needs hope today. Subscribe our channel Kindness Talks for more real-life inspired emotional stories. The rain had stopped just hours before dawn. The sidewalks of that suburban neighborhood still glistened, scattered with old receipts, gum wrappers, and silence. It was the kind of town where everyone smiled politely, but rarely looked beneath the surface. Except her. 8-year-old Mira had learned not to expect smiles. She was a shadow in her own world, living behind dumpsters, inside forgotten storage units, wherever the nights were short and the rats not too hungry. No one knew her name. No one even knew she existed. But Mira had a secret. One she never asked for. One no child should ever carry. It had started a month ago when her mom vanished. Going to the clinic, her mother had whispered that day, weak from another night of coughing blood. But she never came back. Mira waited in the alley for 2 days. Then 3. Then 5. Hunger gnawed her tiny ribs, but it wasn't the worst part. The worst part was knowing no one would ever come looking. But before her mother disappeared, she'd left one thing behind, a faded pink backpack. Inside, Mira found a folder with strange letters, a camera card, and a flash drive, all labeled with the name Elantech Corporation. Mira couldn't read most of it. But she remembered one phrase her mother always said when she coughed at night. "They poison us, and no one cares." Mira didn't know what poison meant. But now, 2 weeks later, she knew she had to find someone who would care. She started walking. Miles at a time. Sleeping in bushes. Eating from trash bins. She went to police stations, but they pushed her away like she was dirt. Once, an officer even threatened to call social services, so Mira ran before she could be taken and forgotten again. It was when she stumbled into Silverbrook, a wealthy neighborhood filled with SUVs, smiling housewives, and polished lawns, that she saw it. The petrol station with the large banner that read, "Elantech Fuel, powering a cleaner tomorrow." Mira's heart began pounding. That was the name in the folder. That was their fuel. She reached into the backpack. The documents inside were messy now, some wet, others torn. But the flash drive, wrapped in her mother's old scarf, was still there. She had tried to plug it into public computers before, but they'd shut her down, called her a street rat, kicked her out. One man even laughed and said, "This kid's got conspiracy theories now." That's cute. But what Mira had seen on that drive wasn't cute. It was terrifying. So she waited. And on that bright Tuesday morning, she saw the sleek black petrol car roll into the station. It was the kind of car rich people drove. But more importantly, it had the Elantech logo sticker on the rear window. The driver, a tall man with salt and pepper hair, stepped out briefly, leaving the engine running. Mira felt her heartbeat explode in her chest. This was her moment. If no one would listen, maybe she had to make them look. She darted across the lot, ignored the stairs, ignored the security shouting behind her, and stopped dead in front of the running car. She dropped the backpack. And screamed. The crowd started to gather. The man shouted, furious. But when he unzipped the backpack, saw the photos of dead fish in rivers, the maps of leaked toxins near low-income neighborhoods, the email transcripts, the recording of workers begging to shut down faulty fuel lines. The blood drained from his face. Because he was Miles Vance, Elon Tekka's vice president of public relations. And this little girl just exploded the one secret they spent billions to hide. The footage from that gas station went viral before noon. Someone had filmed Mira screaming, "They made my mom sick," before dropping the bag. Another caught the moment when the VP's face twisted from anger to fear. By evening, it had over 12 million views. But none of that mattered to Mira. Because she was sitting in a cold interrogation room at the police station, shivering, clutching her mother's scarf. She had been called a hoax, a liar, a tool planted by eco-terrorists. An officer, a kind one with tired eyes, offered her cocoa and asked gently, "Did someone make you do this, sweetheart?" Mira didn't speak. Not until a man walked in, wearing a simple coat, jeans, and a badge that said Federal Environmental Protection Agency. "Is your name Mira?" he asked, crouching beside her. She nodded. "I've seen the footage. And I saw the drive," he said, his voice calm, but laced with something stronger, truth. "You're the reason this country might finally listen." Outside, Elon Tech scrambled. Their CEO denied all wrongdoing. Press releases flooded the media. Lawsuits threatened to bury everything. But they were too late. Inside Myra's backpack was a chain of evidence tracing years of silent pollution. Elon Tekka's cleaner fuel had been dumping unprocessed waste into rural streams, mostly near minority and poor communities. And Myra's mother? A janitor at one of their facilities, who'd been documenting everything for months before vanishing. That folder was her mother's last act of courage. And Myra's scream was the spark that lit the fire. 2 weeks later, Mira stood nervously behind a podium, dressed in a borrowed blue coat, facing a room full of reporters. Her voice trembled as she read the words someone had helped her write. "I didn't know what truth looked like. I just knew my mom didn't come home. I wanted someone to care. And I still do, because kids shouldn't have to shout for grown-ups to see what's right in front of them." The room was silent. And then, a standing ovation. Months passed. Elon Tech was fined billions. The CEO resigned. Several politicians connected to the cover-up were arrested. And Mira? She was adopted by the EPA agent and his wife, a schoolteacher who hung Myra's mother's scarf by the window, where the sun hit it every morning. Sometimes, it takes the smallest voice to speak the loudest truth. Sometimes, the people we ignore carry the burdens we're too afraid to face. And sometimes, a girl with a pink backpack brings the whole world to its knees, just to show us what's been in front of us all along.